What's up, everyone? It is your girl GELBEAUTY 7 here, aka Grace, and today we're gonna get into a new series I started, because y'all know me, every 15 minutes she's starting a new series. So today's series I'm calling Muted versus Colorful. So I'm basically going through my collection and showing y'all palettes that I feel like have muted color stories compared to its counterpart from like an indie brand, most likely. So it's more like luxury, like mainstream, that we comparing basically the indie brands and how they each looked at the color story differently and gave us similar colors but with like fun pops of color in one, and one company played it more safe with like more muted and, you know, everyday colors that were more wearable. So the first one I felt like would be a, you know, a kind of a shock, so I wanted to start off with it because I thought it would be the most fun one. So I'm starting off with muted versus colorful. That's right, the Huda Beauty one is more colorful than the Beauty Bay one. So this is the Beauty Bay Fiery 2.0 16 palette. Y'all know I like to buy the 16 pan ones. Versus the Huda Beauty Chameleon Wild Obsessions palette. So when I first went through my collection, y'all have probably already seen the underrated versus overrated on this by now. I don't know, I hope so. But anyway, when I look at both of them, I feel like I see the same color story. It's just, I feel like Beauty Bay played theirs a little bit more safe than the Huda did, because you see she has that fun bright purple, and I still feel like a lot of her then she has that fun bright gold, and then she has that marbly shade. So I feel like she played she didn't play it safe, whereas I feel like Beauty Bay did, because you got to think, if I cover up like this one, what do you see besides the same old neutral palette with this one pop of color here? But with hers, it's like, it's 2 and 3 pops of color that I feel like make this a more unique palette. So that's why I said this was the muted palette and this was the more colorful palette. Because with that bright purple and then this marble shade and that bright gold at the bottom, compared to a lot of just the same boring neutrals and bronzes that you see in a lot of palettes, what makes this palette so special compared to this one? The purples and the marbles is what makes it special. This is just another muted neutral palette that I care nothing about. So I wanted you all to see the differences between the two. So I feel like this would be fun, and then I'll pick whichever one I like the best, and then you'll see videos on them throughout the year. But I just thought it'd be fun to start off showing you all what the preview was for the year as far as palettes go. So the next one I have is Muted versus Colorful. This is the Adept Cosmetics Metamorphosis palette. Now, I'm not saying Adept Cosmetics has a lot of boring makeup, because I feel like they have actually a decent amount of color stories, but at the end of the day, I feel like because they tried to do a more like grungy deep tone outer V shades and a little bit of pops of color, whereas Beauty Bay was just like, we going for it. Matter of fact, this is the palette that's on my ass right now. If you're curious, I am wearing this tropical palette from Beauty Bay, the 16 color palette. But as you can see, it's giving color, it's giving so much fun, but it's still giving like a lot of neutral in my personal opinion, and it's not giving like a lot of bright matte. So it's like you get the bright orange and the bright red, but like everything else is like, I feel like a more grungy deep beauty color, or like a shimmer. Whereas with this one, I feel like you get lots of pops of color. Like I used the good majority of the pops of color. I use this color in the front. I use this orange in the middle. I use this in the back. And then you still got like all these reds and all these different colorful mattes along with not necessarily colorful shimmers, but you get a lot of colorful mattes. And then that the shimmers are muted, that's okay, because you still get lots of bright pops of color. I feel like with this one, you only get 2 bright pops of color when it comes to the mattes, and then there are some deeper shimmers and there's some lighter shimmers, which are nice, but I don't know. I just felt like this one gave me a lot more color than the Metamorphosis palette, so that's why I said this was the colorful palette and this was the muted palette. So again, 2 color stories worked exactly, 2 color stories that are very similar, but they just didn't execute their palettes in the same way, which is why I chose what I chose and how I chose. Sorry, y'all, I'm trying to put them down in the corner as I go, because y'all know, if y'all didn't know, like I had to move this room around. My son's friend lived here in Chicago. He has since moved to Michigan, so Adrian's best friend moved away, and I haven't moved the room back yet, because I was like, I just can't be bothered right now. Let's try for it next year, okay? But next, Muted versus Colorful. Now y'all should have known that I was gonna try to get my seahorse in here somehow. I love this palette to death. This was easily in my top 10 of 2023. Spoiler alert. I mean, not really, because you've already seen that video long before you saw this one, but yeah. So this is the Koi palette from Viseart, and for Viseart, this is actually really shimmer and impactful, but you gotta think, indie brands gonna have dual chromes, multi-chromes, holochromes, all that stuff. So I feel like we already know that this one is easily going over the Koi palette. Now, I love both for each reason. Like when I have a, I'm not trying too hard, but I still want to do colorful moment, I would easily reach for my Koi palette. But if I'm trying to be extra and shimmery like I am the majority of the time, then I'm reaching for my Seahorse palette. So it's just more of what each palette has to offer. This offers soft washes of iridescent like color and shifts changes for someone who has textured eyelids, I feel like it's probably better for you. Or if you just like soft shimmer on the lid, I feel like this palette would be better for you. But people like me who would want to be extra and do the absolute most, you need to get the Seahorse palette. The Seahorse palette is everything. I do have a code with Adept, believe it or not. So my code is GELBEAUTY87, and I think you get 10 or 15% off. I don't remember, but it's down below. But I definitely think that I like the Adept one a whole lot more than this one. Not to say that I don't like this one. I still love it all the same, but I just bought the new one as a matter of fact that they had, so I do like it. It's just more of, I know I'm gonna reach for this one because to me it's more colorful and fun and does more vibrancy than this one does, and that's what it comes down to with obviously colorful versus muted. So I'm definitely gonna do a video on those two as far as a battle goes, or as a colorful versus muted eye tutorial goes. Definitely look for those two. I have one more from Viseart, so I think we should get them out the way. Next, muted versus colorful, we have the Viseart Grande Pro Volume 2 up against my All I Ever Wanted palette from Alien Cosmetics, or should we say Unearthly Cosmetics since they changed their name. But I don't know, I think Karen said they're having issues with their holiday palette. It's delayed or something to that effect. So if you're waiting on that Dreamer palette, the nice mauve tone one, then just, you know, you have to wait a little bit or be patient. But anyway, this is what they look like side by side. Now, as you can see, this one is definitely giving more color, more sparkle, more band pound in your face. And this is more like muted shimmers. I think some of them have a little sparkle in them and they try to do a little extra with it. But it's like, as a general rule, this is basically like your basic kind of metallic. And this is dual chrome, multi-chrome, and like those really pigmented, saturated metallics that I personally like. So I've actually only used this palette once and I wasn't that impressed with it. I easily like this one better, so that's what immediately made me think of these two. I'm actually thinking about putting this one on my Macari just because I'm not that huge a fan of it. It's not that it's bad, it's just more of, I'm not a girl who likes muted stuff very often, so this one will do me just fine along with the other indie brand ones I have. So that's why this is muted and this one is colorful, my dears. I'm trying to get through this pile so I can figure out which eye looks I want to do in particular and which ones I want to take home, so that way I can take all the stuff home, y'all. Because as usual, it's like 50 boxes sitting in the floor with all different ideas that I just had not time to film. I need to film my last declutter of 2023. I don't even think I'm going to get to it in 2023 just because I have that much stuff. Next, we have muted versus colorful. This is the Nightshade palette from Gourmand Girls and Doodles by the Bunny, alongside the Trio Chrome palette from Natasha Denona. Now, for Natasha Denona, I feel like this and Circle Local were her most like colorful palettes ever, and I definitely appreciate them. But at the end of the day, again, with all these dual chromes, multi chromes, and indie brands that come up with a lot of similar tones, I feel like this just was not enough. Because as you can see, they have some similar tones. They have like the yellows, they have the greens, they have the purples. It just doesn't have like the orangey-ish pinky shades toward the bottom. It has grays instead, but I feel like everything else is pretty similar. And I will say, like, if Natasha came with more color like she did in Circle Local, I wouldn't have been able to pair these. But just because I feel like the colors are like 2 or 3 different muted versions of the colors as opposed to it just being fun, bright, and impactful colors, I had to say that this one was boring or muted compared to its counterpart, which I'm making the Nightshade. So if I had to pick between the two, I would pick the Nightshade first and then I would pick the Trio Chrome, because what's supposed to make a Trio Chrome exciting is the 3 Trio Chromes. And I feel like they let me down a little bit just because it's like, you know, when you have indie shadows and they're doing all these things and you come with this small roll of like 3 Trio Chrome for $100 and what is it, $50 or $69 or whatever it is. I forgot, it's been a long time since she made one, so I don't remember. But like when you come with something that low, but that with that price point, when I know I can get the same from indie brands with way more, like that All I Ever Wanted palette that I showed you all is only like I think in the 70s or something like that. And it's in the 70s given that, but Natasha Denona talks it's $129. $129 for that palette. I'm just like, honey, where? Next, muted versus colorful, I have the Pat McGrath Mothership 3 palette up against my Into the Night palette by Dede Cosmetics. Y'all know I did a video with Dion on this earlier this year just because I was like, they look too much alike. I was like, Dion, we gotta do something because I know you got this palette, we gotta do something. So I decided that we were gonna put the Glamour one up against this, and as you can see, the Glamour one is definitely more fun. You got that bright yellow matte, you got that bright pink matte, then you got some bright dual chrome, multi-chrome shimmers. Not that Mother doesn't have that. These are one of her most innovative palettes, like as far as color stories go. So this is definitely a fun palette for Pat McGrath. It's just she hasn't done anything like this forever, and the indie brand still gave us more color and fun and glitter and sparkly shadows just like she did to go along with it. So what makes this the more colorful and fun one to me, obviously, is the matte pops of color that it gives, because otherwise I feel like these color stories would be almost identical, and it'd just be a question of, do you want to have Pat McGrath on her special packaging and all that, or do you want the more sparkly glittery indie shadows and to support the small indie business. But yeah, that's honestly the only difference between them, because otherwise, like, I would definitely go ahead and just get rid of my Pat McGrath, to be honest. Like, if I didn't have this already and I had the Into the Night palette, I'm not even gonna lie, I wouldn't buy the Pat McGrath one, just because, you know, I don't need the same color stories twice. I hate having to do that sometimes, but it's like I have to be realistic with myself. It's like, if I know I'm not gonna reach for one more than the other one, there's no purpose of having it. Okay, y'all, only got 2 more left, and then we should be done with this video, girl. So the next muted versus colorful is the Blend Bunny Cosmetics All Done Up palette versus the Cosmic Brushes or Cosmic Beauty Muse palette. I don't know if they've officially changed their name to Cosmic Beauty yet, because I think a lot of stuff still just says CBB, and their Instagram page still says Cosmic Brushes. Like, I don't think they changed their handle to Cosmic Beauty, which is why I'm saying Cosmic Brushes. When they change it, then I'll do it, but you know, there you go. You can use code Cage Makeup at Cosmic Brushes, and you can use code Dr. Ash at Blend Bunny Cosmetics, as well as Laminatrix Cosmetics. So, and you can use code Cage Makeup at Unearthly Cosmetics as well. Okay, yeah, got all the codes up. So here's what both of them look like side by side. I feel like this is just a more fun version of this color story. I think this one came out before this one though, because I'm pretty sure this came out in 2022 and this one came out in 2023. So as you can see, they both have similar type tones, and the shimmers in here are absolutely amazing. So I'm not knocking the shimmers in this palette at all. It's just because of the color setup she has this, it seems like a more muted neutral palette, whereas this one seems like it could be a somewhat neutral palette, but it still gives you fun pops of color throughout, along with nice shifting shades. Now, it doesn't have the sparkly intense shimmers that the All Done Up palette has, but it does still have some great tones, and I really like the eye looks I have come up with this palette. So that's why I said this one was muted, just because of the color story and the colors that they chose in it. I know it has a little nice pastel moment, but since it's more in her traditional style of putting the colors in the rows, it just gives me more of a true neutral feel. And this one, since it's more scattered and chaotic, gives me more of a colorful and fun feel. So that's how I came up with that. Yeah, I'm trying to put it all away. No, we gotta keep this one here. Okay, the last one I have to talk about is muted versus colorful. This is the Unzai Snow Dream palette versus the Sumerian Sunset palette. Now, I already gave y'all a battle of these, so we're not gonna do these. I just had both of them here, so I was like, I'm here, they're here, you're here, we're all here. So we just added to this video real quick if you like. So you've already seen one of these videos. I just made this a battle. So this is the Snow Dream palette. Now, they don't look exact. I feel like they had similar enough color stories though. But the thing I like about the Unearthly one is the color story more. I like the color story of the sorry, not Unearthly, the Adept Sumerian Sunset more than I like the color story of the Snow Dreams palette. I just feel like it's a little too light and too ashy and a little too neutral and played a little too safe personally, because they usually do a lot of colorful stuff. For them to play it this safe, I was kind of shocked by it. But I guess I understand that you can pair it with the Merry Christmas palette, because that's the one I pair this one with. And then I pair the what is it, the Hey Reindeer with those, what's that palette called, the Snow Christmas Eve palette. But yeah, I do have a code with Adept Cosmetics. It's GELBEAUTY87 if you're interested. But I just feel like the Adept one hits it out the park 100%. All these dual chromes and multi-chrome, and then the nice tones mattes that they chose. I do appreciate that there are lots of different mattes in the Unzai one. However, a lot of them usually don't work for my skin tone. I think it's like 2 of them in here that work for my skin tone when it comes to transition shades. Maybe 3 if I'm pushing it. And I just like the cohesiveness of this color story better than I do of the Unzai one as well. So that's why the Unzai one is a little boring for me, because it has a lot of neutral transition shades and a lot of shades in here are too light. Whereas with the Sumerian Sunset, I can easily pull a look, do a look, and it won't be difficult to get it done at all. So those are the palettes I had to talk to you all about today when it came to muted versus colorful, or colorful versus muted. I don't know what I'm gonna title yet. So that's just a preview of some of the ones I have. I have some more to put in this video, but I was just like, I'm gonna just start off with these right now so I can pick aside which ones I want to put in the video and which ones I want to take home, so that way I have an idea of where we're going. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. Make sure you subscribe for more content. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye.